Good morning and welcome to the Wilson Center. And for many of you, including President Musharraf, welcome back to the Wilson Center. I understand we have overflow crowds in numerous rooms, befitting an important visitor and an important speech. My name is Jane Harmon. I am the relatively new, 3 months into it, President and CEO of the Wilson Center. I'm a recovering politician, having spent 9 terms in the United States Congress. Some would say, and I would agree, that my timing in terms of leaving was impeccable. This is the second time that the center has hosted a public address by the former president of Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf, a fact that underscores the center's intense interest in Pakistan and its commitment to providing better communication and understanding between Pakistan and the United States. Pakistan and U.S.-Pakistan relationships are one of the center's highest priorities. Our Asia program organizes public events on Pakistan on a monthly basis. Senior Pakistani officials also regularly speak here. Earlier this spring, we hosted a public address by Pakistan's finance minister. We bring Pakistani scholars and journalists to the center as visiting scholars. In addition to our regular fellowship competitions open to scholars of all nationalities, the center and its Asia program sponsor an annual competition open only to Pakistani scholars. I'm pleased to see that one of those scholars, former Foreign Secretary Riaz Khan, whose new book on Afghanistan was written while he was a Wilson Center Pakistan scholar, is with us today. Where are you? Please stand. Welcome. Welcome. Our Asia program has also undertaken an extensive review of the U.S. economic assistance program to Pakistan and will roll out the conclusions and recommendations of that study later this year. Some of you may have noticed, I certainly noticed, that the House Foreign Affairs Committee yesterday fenced, that means sort of walled off, funding both for economic assistance and military assistance to Pakistan until the president certifies that there is adequate cooperation on counterterrorism. That's just one House committee, but that's a move that some feel, including me, may go in the wrong direction. Economic assistance, I would argue, is absolutely crucial. President Musharraf's speech this morning comes at a timely moment. Relations between our two countries are more strained today than at any time in the past 10 years. Each of our countries needs the other for the achievement of important strategic objectives. Yet most of the public discussion of the bilateral relationship focuses on our divisions and our disagreements. Perhaps today's session will serve to remind both Pakistanis and Americans that we have a commonality of interests in countering terror threats, jump-starting stalled economies, and recovering after calamitous earthquakes and floods. As a member of Congress over 9 terms, as I said, I belonged to the Pakistan-American Caucus and visited the region over 20 times. I also represented a large and prosperous Pakistani-American community in Los Angeles, many of whom President Musharraf knows very well. I saw much beauty in Pakistan, especially in places like Lahore. But I also saw the devastation in Swat after the epic floods and the barrenness of the tribal areas separating Pakistan and Afghanistan. General Musharraf was a new president on 9/11 and spent the next 7 years in that job as our world changed radically. President Musharraf, a career Army officer and a veteran of the 1965 and 1971 wars against India, allied Pakistan with the United States in what I believe was the misnamed war on terror. Surely it was a war against al-Qaeda, and President Musharraf was our ally in that effort. He allowed U.S. troops access to Pakistani military airports and bases, as well as logistical and other support. It was and remains a turbulent time. The good news was a serious effort at educational and economic reform, things that are now stalled because of more recent developments. The embarrassing news was the discovery in 2005 that the father of Pakistan's nuclear bomb, A.Q. Khan, sold technology to North Korea and elsewhere. Then there was the protest by the legal community about the validity of the 2007 presidential election. the declaration of a state of emergency, the horrifying assassination of Benazir Bhutto, and a transition of power. Hard as all that was, events since have been even more challenging. The takedown of Osama bin Laden, something that many of us applaud, has exposed deep conflicts. The Pakistani government recently ordered 200 U.S. Special Forces trainers to leave the country, and that resulted in a suspension by the Obama White House of $800 million in U.S. military aid. Yesterday, as I said, Congress has taken a more severe position, or at least a committee of Congress. We'll have to see where that goes. But the bottom line is both sides are frustrated and angry, but both also understand how crucial it is for our relationship to survive. President Musharraf now resides in the UK, but travels extensively in the U.S. and elsewhere. Last fall, he announced the creation of a new political party, the All-Pakistan Muslim League, and his intention to return to Pakistan before the next general election in 2013. Before asking President Musharraf to come to the podium, I want to acknowledge the Wilson Center Council and Alliance members who I think are with us today. Adina Adler, Ginny Edlovich, a dear friend of mine, Margaret Goodman, Tom and Claudia Hentliff. Welcome. And please, any one of you who wants to join the Wilson Council, this is not a hard thing to do. Following his remarks, President Musharraf has agreed to take questions from the audience. The director, the able director of our Asia program, Bob Hathaway, who's sitting right there, will moderate that part of this morning's session. And so, President Musharraf, welcome back to the Wilson Center. It is my honor to introduce former President, and perhaps future President, Pervez Musharraf of the country of Pakistan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Congresswoman Jane Harman, Mr. Bob Hathaway, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed my proud privilege to have been given this opportunity of talking to you, and I am extremely grateful to the Woodrow Wilson Center for affording this opportunity. I intend talking to you for about maximum half an hour, and that will set the stage for, I hope, a lively Q&A session. I will speak basically on Pakistan and the region. I call the subject as Pakistan, a reality check. I will highlight significant issues in Pakistan and the region, as I said, to set the stage for a lively Q&A session. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan today finds itself in the eye of the terrorism storm. An environment of controversies, contradictions, mutual suspicions prevail, which is extremely detrimental and weakens our joint effort of global war on terror. The situation demands a clearer understanding of ground realities in South Asia, bridging the acute trust deficit, and also, may I say, developing a unity of thought and action among all the players fighting war on terror in South Asia. May I also venture to say blame games, rigidity, arrogance, insensitivity to each other's national interests is certainly very counterproductive. And it definitely saddens me to see the deteriorating Pakistan-United States relations after especially my period between 2000 and 2008, which saw mutual understanding, mutual cooperation, and understanding the role that both of us play in fighting the war on terror. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start by analyzing the existing environment in its historical perspective. How did religious militancy get introduced into the region and into Pakistan, especially. Is Pakistan the victim of terrorism, or is it the perpetrator of terrorism? Very briefly, I would like to take a historical overview to put facts in front of you. In 1979, ladies and gentlemen, Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, and as a result, United States and Pakistan, in their own relative interests, decided to launch a jihad, a holy war, in Afghanistan against the Soviet Union. We called it a jihad, a holy war, because we wanted to draw mujahideen, holy warriors, from all over the Muslim world. And we succeeded in drawing about 25 to 30,000 mujahideen into Afghanistan. Not only that, we also trained, armed, and inducted Taliban from the madrasas of the tribal agencies and pumped them into Afghanistan. So therefore, from 79 to 89, for 10 long years, we introduced religious militancy in the form of a jihad and mujahideen into Afghanistan. Especially so because in this period, the elites in Afghanistan decided to abandon Afghanistan. So the fight against the Soviets was spearheaded by religious militant groups. Then in 1989, to our west, in Indian-held Kashmir, a freedom struggle erupted. And this had tremendous public sympathy in Pakistan. Dozens of mujahideen groups, the much maligned names of LET, Lashkar-e-Tayyaba, Jaish Muhammad, Hizbul Mujahideen, HM, JM, all these are products of the 90s. They sprung up in Pakistan. Great public sympathy, people volunteering to go to Kashmir and fight the Indian army. So this introduced more religious militancy in our east and our west. 89 to 2001, 9/11, 12 years, I call this the period of disaster, when the United States summarily decided to quit the region without any rehabilitation or resettlement of the 25,000 mujahideen who were armed to the teeth and didn't know anything other than fighting. This resulted in ethnic warlordism, a dozen ethnic groups fighting each other, destroying and ravaging Afghanistan. These mujahideen who were brought in between 79 and 89, ladies and gentlemen, then coalesced into Al-Qaeda. Osama bin Laden or Zawahiri, all these names are all those who came in this decade of 79-89. As if this was not enough, in 1996 we saw the rise of the Taliban, and they swept across Afghanistan, controlling 90% of Afghanistan. This fighting, eruption, Taliban, Al-Qaeda saw 4 million refugees into Pakistan. Introduction of a gun and Kalashnikov and drug culture. Finally, in 9/11, the terrible, disastrous terrorist attack on the World Trade Center and the US military offensive in Afghanistan, all Al-Qaeda and Taliban ran into the mountains and cities of Pakistan. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, religious militancy we saw in the east, in Kashmir, Indian-held Kashmir, religious militancy in Afghanistan, its fallout entirely on Pakistan in the center. This is how religious militancy was introduced. We are not the perpetrators. The situation in Pakistan was perfectly normal till 1979, but things started getting disturbed after that for the reasons that I've told you. Pakistan, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, faces 4 menaces, I would say. Number one is the menaces of Al Qaeda, who are there in our mountains, but I think over time they are reduced in numbers. The second menace is Taliban, who were dismantled, their organization totally disrupted, in disarray after 9/11. But in 2004, there was a resurgence of the Taliban. And now it is the Taliban who hold strength in Afghanistan and in the tribal agencies of Pakistan and trying to spread beyond. This is the second menace. The third is these Taliban trying to spread their obscurantist views of our religion, Islam, and trying to impose it on settled districts of Pakistan, in northwest frontier province and beyond in Pakistan. The fourth menace is extremists within our society. They are, first of all, the Mujahideen, as I said, who have public sympathy going into Indian-held Kashmir. And secondly, some pockets where in Pakistan, some people in Pakistan, extremists, developing a nexus with the Taliban in the tribal agencies and beyond in Afghanistan. So this is extremism within our society. So, ladies and gentlemen, may I say that Pakistan's national social fabric has been torn asunder beyond 1979. So we are a victim of all that has historically happened in our area. I would like to touch on this very touchy issue. Why is there so much antipathy in Pakistan public eye against the United States? This is certainly worrisome, troublesome, because we are supposed to be fighting global war on terror together. So while the government is on board, strategically aligned towards defeating terrorism, defeating Al Qaeda and Taliban, the public view of United States is bad. May I venture to give some reasons? Till 1989, ladies and gentlemen, for 42 years, from 47 to 89, we were aligned with the West. In the Cold War period, when there was a bipolar world, we were with the United States and the West, strategic ally for 42 years. We fought the Soviets for 10 years along with the United States. Everything was happening from Pakistan, and Pakistan was allowing everything. There was no such great antipathy against the United States till 1989. Then what happened after 1989 is the question that we need to ask ourselves. May I say that in 1989 or 1990, United States decides to change strategic orientation. They abandon the place and they have a strategic policy shift against Pakistan tilted towards India. So the ally of 42 years is put under sanctions. And may I venture to say, the enemy of those 42 years, because India was always in the eastern camp with Soviet Union, became the strategic ally. This was seen in the public of Pakistan as Pakistan having been used and ditched and betrayed. Then comes United States nuclear policy. Appeasement, strategic cooperation with India, negative, very negative against Pakistan. This is seen as partisan, it is seen as animosity against Pakistan's national sensitivity, national interest. Our nuclear capability, to every most illiterate man in the streets of Pakistan, is his pride. Is the pride of Pakistan, because that guarantees our security. It guarantees against the existential threat that Pakistan has been facing, where we have fought 3 wars with India. It is the guarantee of our integrity and security. It is the pride of every Pakistani. So anyone casting a negative eye towards our nuclear potential is seen very negatively in the public eye. Then, of course, the indiscriminate drone attacks with the increasing collateral damage. Also, the strike against Osama bin Laden with the violation of our sovereignty as seen by the people of Pakistan are all seen very negatively. The 9/11 and its aftermath, when I decided to join the coalition, had divided opinions in Pakistan. People used to ask me everywhere after my decision, what makes me believe that United States will again not misuse us, use us rather, and then again ditch us and betray us. And the events now of United States maybe deciding to quit in 2014, whether I don't know whether they stabilize Afghanistan or maybe not, and leave the area, is that the reality? Because then Pakistan will have to again fend for itself when the situation either moves back to 1989, when all ethnic groups were fighting each other because of the vacuum that gets created in Afghanistan and an unstable government, or it may go back to 1996 with Taliban on one side and the ethnic groups of Northern Alliance, the Uzbeks, Hazaras, Tajiks on the other side. I personally believe if we leave an unstable Afghanistan without stabilizing Afghanistan politically, because Taliban is not a monolith under one head. Mullah Umar calls himself a Taliban, of course. Siraj Haqqani is a Taliban. Gulbuddin Hikmatyar is a Taliban. TTP of Pakistan is a Taliban. TNSM of Pakistan is a Taliban. Baitullah Masood of South Waziristan is a Taliban. His brother leading now, he's been killed. All of them are not in tandem with each other. In fact, many in Afghanistan fight each other. So therefore, it's not a monolith. So maybe we go back to 1989, where there'll be chaos, confusion, anarchy, everyone fighting each other. Pakistan alone, again fending for itself. So this was why, as I said, an antipathy against United States. Why is there a confidence and trust deficit between United States and Pakistan, which has got exacerbated all along? No trust at all in the last 1.5 years, I think, finally leading to the action of Osama bin Laden, which absolutely displays the lack of trust, lack of confidence between the two countries. Very briefly, partially maybe it started back in my time in 2004 or 5, when I had a strategy of weaning away Pakhtuns from the Taliban. And therefore, we started by putting together local jirgas, tribal jirgas, which is a tribal meeting of elders. I thought we hold jirgas, tribal jirgas, and through these jirgas we wean away Pakhtuns from the Taliban. Because my view was that all Taliban are Pakhtuns, but all Pakhtuns are not Taliban. Therefore, we must take Pakhtun away and give them their legitimate right of being in the dominant government position in Kabul, in Afghanistan. And may I venture to say that even United States should have actually weaned away Pakhtuns from the Taliban in Afghanistan and put them in government in Kabul. This window of opportunity was available between 2002 and 2004, I think, because Taliban were defeated, dismantled. Military had delivered, in that they created the successful environment, a position of strength, a void and vacuum in Afghanistan. A change of policy was required from military instrument to the political instrument of weaning away Pakhtuns and making them join and putting them in the dominant position in government in Kabul. This 2-year opportunity, I think, was missed. I call this a great blunder, seeing from hindsight now. This is one of the things. Now, when I started going towards the tribal jirgas and dealing or weaning away Pakhtuns, this was seen as if I was dealing with Taliban, which is farthest from the fact. Because we don't know who is a Taliban, who is a Pakhtun, when 150 people are sitting in this tribal jirga, as I said. Each one of them is carrying a weapon, each one of them has a beard, all of them are similar looking. But however, my strategy was, even if we 50% are the genuine people, Pakhtuns, who would like to not be associated with Taliban, we should go ahead and use them against the other 50% who may be double crossing. But however, that was seen as if I was playing a double game, while all my efforts that they are the ones who have attacked me personally. So how could I be playing a double game? So this was partial misunderstanding, especially in the media, aspersions cast on me myself. Then may I also add, at times, in my time at least, tendency of United States to leaving the strategic aspect of cooperation, which ought to be addressed only, but getting into sometimes micromanagement at the modalities of that strategy and the tactics of that strategy. Then, of course, Pakistan not operating in North Waziristan against the Siraj Haqqani group has led to definite lowering of trust and confidence. And to top it all, Osama bin Laden being caught in Abbottabad, a garrison town, and the issue of complicity or negligence. I personally, with all my rationale, think that it is an absolute case of negligence and not complicity. I would be prepared to answer any questions on that. But a negligence of the highest degree. But however, the perception is of complicity. I do understand. Therefore, the lack of trust. Now, I would like to talk of India-Pakistan relations very, very briefly. Ladies and gentlemen, they have been confrontationist right from our independence, from 47. We fought the first war, 48, then 65, 71. I personally have been a part of 65 and 71 wars, both. Pakistan suffered an existential threat. Therefore, we evolved a military strategy of minimum defensive deterrence. We quantified this deterrence into force levels of Army, Navy, Air Force and maintained that force level throughout. That was our strategy. 1974, India goes nuclear. Therefore, that strategy of minimum defensive deterrence becomes untenable because now an unconventional mode gets introduced. Therefore, Pakistan decides to again re-establish the strategy of deterrence, now in the unconventional mode. Therefore, the decision to go nuclear. And the nuclear race starts, nuclear and missile race starts. In 1998, India decides to explode its device again, upsets the balance again, and doubts that whether Pakistan is nuclear or not. So Pakistan decides to prove to the world and to India that we are nuclear. So we tested our bomb also. So that is how this whole nuclear issue got introduced. The nuclear missile race got introduced. My efforts, ladies and gentlemen, was towards rapprochement. A lot of people in India said that you fought wars and you're a soldier, you're a general, you're a dictator. So how are you for peace? I always told them that I am a man of war. Yes, indeed, I have fought wars. But I am a man for peace. because I know the ravages of war more than maybe any one of you. So therefore, I believed in peace in the region very strongly. And I went for a rapprochement with India. And we were moving forward towards resolution of all our disputes, the three disputes, Sir Creek, Siachen, Kashmir. And we were almost on the level at the point of drafting an agreement. And I'm very glad Riaz Muhammad Khan Saab is sitting. He was my foreign secretary. He knows because he was involved in that drafting. So we were moving ahead, but unfortunately, we let that fleeting moment slip. And I personally feel there are three qualities required in leadership on both sides when you are trying to reach an agreement or a deal. Firstly, quality of sincerity from head and heart that you want to solve the issue, dispute for the sake of countries and for many reasons. Secondly, flexibility of trying to accommodate each other's points of views. But the third, I think these two qualities, I think were there in me and were there in Prime Minister Manmohan Singh also. May I say very frankly. I saw sincerity and flexibility in him. But the third quality is a quality of boldness and courage where when you reach a deal, it has to be halfway, meeting halfway, and it has to be a give and take. And it is the give part which both the parties have to give something to take something. That is where they get scared because there will be agitation in their backyard, in their extremists in both the countries. So it is unfortunate that boldness, while required and while you have to grasp fleeting opportunities, if you are not fast enough, fleeting opportunities do not last forever. So it's unfortunate that we missed the fleeting opportunity and we are back to square one now. As far as Pakistan, India is concerned. We are trying to restart now, I think. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the way ahead. What is the way ahead? These are the realities, historical realities, the existing realities. What is the way ahead? United States and Pakistan must restore trust. Confrontation would be most unwise. How to do that is the question. On Pakistan's side, I personally believe we must convince the world and the United States that the issue of Osama bin Laden was not complicity. It was negligence of a very monumental order, certainly. And also why Pakistan is not acting against the Haqqani group in North Waziristan, which is causing a lot of anxiety in United States. The United States, may I say, must show concern towards sensitivities. The violation of our sovereignty, the drone attacks, the indiscriminate drone attacks, causing collateral damage of women and children, and also nuclear attitude towards our nuclear capability. May I suggest that a more balanced treatment of Pakistan and India, and understanding that Pakistan's nuclear capability is because of its existential threat. May I say, like Israel. Israel as an existential threat, so also Pakistan as an existential threat. Therefore, the right to defend ourselves and have this deterrent capability in the conventional and unconventional is our right, should not be looked negatively at. Then resolving the Kashmir dispute is essential, because extremism in Pakistan, as I said, and terrorism in Pakistan now is also because of these mujahideen groups, independent mujahideen groups, recruiting people, sending them into Kashmir. We must resolve the Kashmir dispute. I don't see any leader visiting India now or in the past maybe, telling India to go ahead, resolve the Kashmir dispute. Even a word on that. While from India, one does hear some advice to Pakistan. May I also say, with very all frankness and bluntness, that I know that India is trying to create an anti-Pakistan Afghanistan. This must not be allowed, because then Pakistan has to fend for itself. Pakistan has to evaluate how does it manage all this. And I say this with authority of all the intelligence that I had. And also may I say that all intelligence, diplomats, security people, military of Afghanistan go for training to India. In spite of my offers all along for free training in Pakistan, not one came to Pakistan. Then, of course, internally, Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, has to deal boldly against extremism in our society, other than terrorism, Al-Qaeda, Taliban. Extremism in our society, and I'd given a 5-point agenda. First of all, stop the misuse and promotion of militancy from mosques of Pakistan. Stop publications, handbills, posters, pamphlets urging people towards militancy, extremism. Ban publication, ban distribution and selling. Thirdly, ban extremist organizations who are promoting extremism and terrorism in Pakistan and abroad. Fourthly, which we did, modify the syllabus and curriculum in the religious teaching in Pakistan, in the schools where maybe sectarian hatred was being done. And lastly, evolve a madrasa strategy to mainstream the Taliban in the madrasas. Lastly, on a tactical issue, maybe Pakistan Army, with all its commitments, may be a bit overstretched. The better way of dealing, which I personally think, is through the second line force of Frontier Corps. Therefore, we need to raise much more Frontier Corps and equip them with tanks and guns, make them strong enough, and because they are ethnically the same as the tribal agencies, they would be more acceptable to be fighting and dealing with terrorism than Pakistan Army, which is taken to be an alien army because they are dominated by people from Punjab. Well, to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, it is easier said than done, whatever I've said. There is tremendous complexity in all that I've said. Pakistan certainly needs a strong, stable, honest government which understands the magnitude of the task involved, has the following of the people of Pakistan, and also shows courage and resolve to change. That is the first requirement in Pakistan itself. Presently, there is a leadership vacuum in Pakistan. No leader and not one of the two main political parties, I personally feel, is capable of delivering to Pakistan. Therefore, the requirement in Pakistan by Pakistanis themselves is to break the political status quo and come in with another political alternative. The solution lies in a democratic political dispensation which breaks the political status quo. Therefore, all eyes are on the 2013 elections. We have to break the political status quo. Otherwise, I am afraid and I suspect that conditions in Pakistan may carry on going as they are going. Therefore, if I am allowed to use Saddam Hussein's term, the next election is going to be the mother of all elections. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, for a very frank and forceful presentation and for sharing your considerable experience with us today. We have not only this room completely filled, but also people in several other rooms. Let me assure those who are not physically here that you will have an opportunity to write questions and send them to me, and I will be calling on some of you in other rooms as well. Before we move to the Q&A part of our program, I want to acknowledge one person. There's at least one former U.S. ambassador to Pakistan in the room today, Bill Milam down here in the front. I trust there are, I don't see others. I hope I haven't ignored anyone else, but if I have, welcome to others as well. President Musharraf, I'm going to take advantage of ownership of the microphone to ask the first question. All of us have wished we could do do-overs, to reverse a decision that we have made or a change in action we have taken, to follow a course other than the one we chose. What are your do-overs? As you look back on your years as president, what actions did you take? What decisions did you make that, with the benefit of hindsight, you wish you could do over? And what would you have done differently?
Thank you very much. Well, I have governed Pakistan directly or indirectly for 8 or 9 years. I always thought my duty to my nation as a leader was towards the welfare of the people and the development of the state. And may I say that on both counts, Pakistan was on the rise. Pakistan performed admirably. While we were a failed or defaulted state in 1999, in 2006, we were one of the next 11 countries, economically vibrant countries of the world. This was the transformation. And each socio-economic indicator for the people and for the state was positive. When I left in 2008, all the indicators were still positive. So therefore, I did not leave when Pakistan was on a downslide. I left when Pakistan was on a growth path. So therefore, frankly, if I have to come back, I do not have to reinvent the wheel. Whatever I did, I need to repeat, because Pakistan is headed again towards a failed or a defaulted state. So one has to repeat. However, one has to see reality. What happened that I had to leave? It was not the socio-economic downturn of Pakistan, but my popularity, which was about 84% maybe in 2007, early 2007. So 7 years took a downslide in 2007 and 8 because of certain elements, because of my moving against the judiciary, which had a reason. I won't go into the details, but I took constitutional and legal actions against in that respect. But however, it led to politicization and street protests. And then Benazir Bhutto's coming back to Pakistan, and then Nawaz Sharif's coming back to Pakistan because she came back violating an agreement with me not to come back before elections. And then she got assassinated. It led to a total swing against my political supporters and me in favor of the present government and People's Party. My regret, maybe, which I don't know when anyone knows, the deal that I struck with Benazir Bhutto, where I gave, in exchange for her not coming before elections, the cases, the corruption cases against her and her husband, in allowing that to be set aside through something called NRO. That is my regret, because it led to a lot of my popularity going down, and a lot of within Pakistan, a lot of anti-feelings against that. So that is my regret. But now in the political climate, because I know what Pakistan is going through, and I feel that people there are not being able to manage, and I see that the political alternative is not good enough. Therefore, I thought that I considered whether I will be able to play a role. And may I say, with the poor performance of the government and the other party, my standing is again, interestingly, it is going up again. Therefore, I thought maybe trying and changing Pakistan to the better is better than not trying at all. Therefore, I will go back to Pakistan, and I've already announced that I'll go back on 23rd March 2012. I will go back.
Thank you. President Harman, you have a question.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, for putting many issues on the table, and I know there are many other questions. You said that the issue of negligence versus complicity with respect to Osama bin Laden was, you would entertain that as the subject of a question, so here it is. Most people believe that the complex was built and he moved in while you were president of Pakistan. It is obviously yet unclear who knew about that and whether there was, as you said, negligence or complicity, but it is fair to speculate that local officials knew about it because there must have been some permitting and some knowledge that this larger than any other complex was being built in the midst of this military garrison. So my question to you is, as president, looking back on your presidency in 2005, 2006, do you bear any responsibility for either the negligence or the complicity that went on when Osama bin Laden moved to Abbottabad?
Thank you. Well, whether one believes it or not, let me say with confidence, I did not know. So therefore, I believe if he was there for 5 years, and that was my tenure certainly, 2 years of that 5 years was during my time, I confidently, I surely say that it was not complicity, because I am very sure of one thing, that I didn't know, whether one believes it or not. The other issue is if I knew. First of all, your point of building, constructing there, I mean, if we have to hide somebody, do we have to construct a house for him? There are hundreds of houses available all over to put him in. And secondly, if he was to be put there, wouldn't there be some guard and some security that he does not leave the place? Such a valuable target, such a valuable personality, shouldn't one use it as a bargaining chip? There was nobody around. He could move out, in and out. Now, if at all intelligence knew and I knew, or subsequently ISI knew, CIA moved in the vicinity in a safe house for months, I believe, recently, before. I was not there then, of course. Now, if ISI was holding a man there, and obviously they should have been watching and protecting, how could CIA open a safe house and be watching Osama bin Laden in that house without ISI knowing? And if ISI knew, they would have whisked him away if they were colluding and complicity, if there was complicity. So I think it doesn't stand to any logic at all. May I say, this issue of garrison town, if anyone has seen Abbottabad, Abbottabad is a tourist resort, it is a hill station of about 800,000 people. When we sit here and listen to a garrison town, and it appears as if it's a perimeter walled or barbed wire contained garrison, and inside that Osama bin Laden has come. It's an open town. The route to the northern areas is through Abbottabad. Everyone going through Abbottabad. The civil and military, about 800,000 people, are intermingled. There are educational institutions. And this house, frankly, I haven't seen it physically. but I have seen it on the television. You may find it odd. I don't find it odd at all. What is so odd about the house? It's a normal, slightly on the large size house. It has high walls. I don't think it has such high walls. People, Pashtuns of frontier province, have very high walls. This is their custom. So I don't at all find this house to be odd. Which people sitting here, because you don't have walls around your houses. So it's not odd at all for a person from Pakistan and in the frontier province. So I think in all fairness, I think there was no complicity. There was negligence of the highest order. In my time, was it possible that the army and the ISI was hiding from me? That when I say that I didn't know it, is it possible that the army and ISI were hiding from me? No. 100 times. Not at all. Not possible. Because I am from the army. They are my people. If at all at the high top level there were some directions to protect or hide Osama bin Laden and not tell me, the second and third tier would have come and told me, because I have been with them. Maybe I fought wars with them or actions with them. Maybe they were my students in colleges. Maybe they served under me. They were all with me. How is it possible that I wouldn't know, that they wouldn't tell me? So this is not possible at all. So therefore, I think there was no complicity. Because I think if we carry on this path that there was complicity, this is very, very serious indeed. Relations, I think United States has all the right to be against Pakistan if it ultimately comes to believe that it was genuinely people were hiding him, people were complicit in it, people were, army and ISI was cheating, I would say. I don't think that is the case. And that must be understood, because that will be the start point of re-establishing some kind of trust and confidence in each other.
We have lots of questions. I'd like to ask someone with a microphone to come down to the front, but I'm going to ask, first of all, a question that was sent to us from one of the other rooms. Please describe Pakistan's close economic and political relationship with China. Does Pakistan view China as playing a positive role in South Asia? Does the United States have any reason to be concerned about Pakistan's ties with Beijing?
Pakistan has always had very good relations with China. Pakistan certainly has economic relations with China, commercial relations. Chinese investment is in Pakistan. Pakistan's economy can certainly benefit through relations with China, and therefore it has. And it maintains good relations with China. But may I say whether it should concern United States? I think in this world, one has to see diplomatic relations on a bilateral basis. Should United States interests or association, cooperation with India bother Pakistan? Yes, it should, if at all it is going against Pakistan's interest with United States. So I think dealings between countries ought to be seen on a bilateral basis. Pakistan should not be concerned about US-India relations as long as US-Pakistan relations are normal. So also I would say United States should not bother about China-Pakistan relations as long as Pakistan-United States relations are normal. So I think Pakistan certainly, and every country in the world, diplomatic relations, I don't think there is any love affair that goes on between two countries. They are always national interests. Every country has national interests which are pursued. And towards promoting those national interests, you formulate your foreign policy and you act accordingly. So Pakistan's national interest certainly is to maintain very good relations with the United States and also with China.
Dennis Cooks.
Dennis Cooks from the Woodrow Wilson Center. I wonder if you wouldn't mind, Mr. President, elaborating somewhat on your initiative on Kashmir, because there is a lot of talk in the press, and I think your foreign minister said you were just words away practically from an agreement. I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us what roughly you had in mind or you have in mind for an agreement. What do you think would be possible?
Yes, sir. I take pride in the fact that we formulated parameters for a deal. I would like to elaborate those parameters. Number one, that there should be a graduated demilitarization from the line of control and also the cities where civilians are being harassed because of military presence. Then maximum self-governance to be given to the people of Kashmir. Third, having some kind of an overwatch mechanism of Indians, Pakistanis and Kashmiris to see the self-governance, oversee. Lastly, to make the line of control, which is the main bone of contention. While India would like to have the line of control as made the permanent border, Pakistan considers line of control to be the conflict. That is why we fought the wars. So my idea was to make the line of control irrelevant by opening as many sites, crossing sites as possible. I had identified 6. And allowing that open trade, open free movement of people, make the line of control irrelevant. So these were the broad parameters which we thought could be tested for maybe 15 years, and then we revisit and analyze whether the agreement is going well and maybe carry out some modification and adjustments to further fine-tune the agreement. That were the broad parameters, and I think we were drafting on these lines.
See if we can't squeeze in one last question. Here, yes. Wait till the microphone comes and then please introduce yourself.
Mr. President, I'm Don Crane. A claim often made in the U.S. media is that there are elements in the ISI that are sympathetic to religious extremists. So I'd like to know what your view is on whether that's true, and if so, why can't the government make the necessary reforms, or is it possible that there's no interest in such reform?
I think ISI, first of all, is officered by the military, mainly army. Now, within the army, after all, the people come from all segments of society, from all over Pakistan, all provinces. They are affected by the environment from which they come. But however, when they join the army, their training and the discipline that they come under, I personally think they fall in line with directions, policies of the top. It's a very disciplined army which is under the discipline of the seniors. Now, I cannot rule out the possibility of any element having sympathy towards Taliban or Al-Qaeda. But I am very sure that if such element is found disturbing the environment, they are dealt with very strongly by the military. And we have very strong code of military law. I am very sure that the policy, we have to be more concerned with the intentions, with the policy, with the strategy at the top level. And I am very sure the strategy is to defeat terrorism and extremism. And even the people of Pakistan now, from whichever strata an officer is coming, today people are fed up of the bomb blasts. Almost about 35,000 - 40,000 people have been killed. Who is killing them? Who's doing the bomb blasts? Almost about 4,000 people of army men have been killed. Who is killing them? Who are they fighting? They are fighting Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And it is again the same Taliban, the same Al-Qaeda, in connivance with extremists in our society who are carrying out the bomb blasts. So people are fed up and people are against them. So I personally feel that while I cannot rule out for sure that there is not one element who may be sympathetic towards Taliban, I am very sure that the general direction of ISI and the military is very positive. And also, may I say, people get posted for a certain time and then they get posted out. I, in my time, rotated officers twice in my 8 years for the reason that they were dealing with Taliban right since 1979. 1979 to 89, Taliban Mujahideen were our heroes. So we were aiding them. 89, 2001, now as a new situation comes and Pakistan has to fend for itself. Who should it be supporting? Uzbek, Tajik, Hazaras, Pashtun, Taliban, Northern Alliance, what are we doing? So we had our own strategy and policy. And then comes 9/11, and after that, now the same with Taliban, they are now enemies. So ISI has been adjusting and readjusting according to the policy of the country. We must give credit to ISI for adjusting and readjusting, then again readjusting attitudes towards people. So I don't think one should suspect ISI, and one should sympathize if at all there is some element inside, help and sympathize. It is not the direction of the entire ISI and the entire army. Maybe it's the folly of some. Help in identifying them and be sympathetic that it is not the rule, it's the exception.
Mr. President, unfortunately, we have far more questions than we have times, and I'm aware that you've got a very tight schedule, so I think we'd better wrap this up. Before we adjourn, I'd like to make two brief announcements. All of you are here today because you have a keen interest in Pakistan and Afghanistan and U.S.-Pakistan relations. So I'd like to take this opportunity to invite you back here next Wednesday when we will have a book launch for a new book by our former Pakistan scholar and Pakistan Foreign Secretary Riaz Khan, who has just in the last week or so published a brand new book on these same topics. So this is next Wednesday, July the 27th at 4 p.m. We welcome you to join us for that event. The second and last announcement I would make is because President Musharraf and his party do need to get out of here quickly, if you could remain in your seats until the President and his party do exit the auditorium, we'd greatly appreciate that. Now, if you will join me in thanking President Musharraf for his comments.